So here we are. Eschalon Book 3 is a pretty interesting concept that stems from the wish to play a, quote, good old-fashioned RPG. Eschalon Book 3 pulls you in at the start and will keep you engaged for hours to come. Gamers looking for a throwback title that screams value and depth need look no further. Book 3 does what it aims to accomplish, and well so far. The time machine factor is immediately apparent upon getting to the game's title screen. As you can tell from the artwork and things like that, it carries through a majority of the game itself. While the visuals aren't really going to rival anything like Skyrim or The Witcher, that's the point. We're throwing back to an era where titles could use things like GIFs and it'd be fine. That's part of the charm and draw for a title like Book 3. They're trying to wax nostalgic for those players that remember games like this and those that want to have a more traditional experience with their RPG. While it might be easy to write the game off at aiming to just play on nostalgia, the game does have some great concepts, interesting art, and its fair share of challenge built right in. Eschalon Book 3 is the third in the isometric turn-based RPG Eschalon book series. It saw its first title release back in 2007, and Book 1 was generally pretty well received. It got a lot of positive reviews and received a runner-up Indie RPG of the Year in 2007. So there's that. That reception also translated into decent sales for the first title, with the series selling about 25% better than anticipated and actually turning a profit for developer Basilisk Games. The success of Book 1 no doubt paved an easy path for the developer to release Book 2. And the developer concedes that while the original did sell better than Book 2, the reviews for Book 2 were actually pretty good, even exceeding Book 1. With Book 3, Basilisk looks to continue the success of their series so far. They look to enhance the already proven formula that nostalgia plus depth plus mechanics and challenge equals experience. Now, whether that experience is good, too deep, too long, too whatever it might be, that we will leave up to you. Now, not everybody's going to be able to jump into a game like this, or any in the Eschalon series, and really understand what they're going for and what the game aims to do right off the bat, unless you do have that preconception that they are going for something that isn't Skyrim, that isn't those Baldur's Gate, and that isn't Diablo 3. What Book 3 does so well is offers that classic mix of challenge and control within the restrictions of the game world that are entirely fair, if sometimes unforgiving. During my playthrough of the preview build of Eschalon Book 3, provided by Basilisk Games, a few things became quite apparent and pretty quick, too. The game is challenging at early levels, and that's basically due to the fact that the entire game is your playground. There are no limits, no invisible barriers, no bridges are closed. Now, some areas may require you to get to the quest giver first, but that is a traditional RPG element. It's entirely possible for you to run into a dungeon or a castle or somewhere you have literally no business being in, and leads me to my next point. Running away is for champions and the brave. But seriously, this is a viable strategy, and it has to be utilized. I found myself running away from 6 to 7 characters on the screen at any given time, when one of those characters could very easily destroy me. Now, the character creation is extremely deep, and the paths are pretty clear. It's immediately apparent that you can pick up anything you want and utilize it. Now, encumbrance is a factor, just as it is in games like Skyrim, but you can use anything you want as long as your skills dictate that you can. For instance, I picked a hat up that was similar to Gandalf's, but unfortunately couldn't put it on my female character, Hipvarina. So began the quest to increase my light armor skill. Got to level 2, was able to wear the hat. It's that simple. If you want story, you will get it. The writing in the game is a welcome depth addition that most current games seem to kind of just fluff or pipe in, but not in Eschalon. I could immediately tell that the lore was something that they were proud of, and they had built a real world here. It all makes sense, and while they may be somewhat typical fantasy elements with elves and orcs and things like that, it's right in the type of vein that this game is looking for, but they still pipe in elements that make the game unique and make the story and world interesting. Last point being, the systems are deep, so really take care. This isn't a game you're going to breeze through. This is a game that's going to take you tens of hours, and really, you need to take that time. Character creation, menus, inventory, leveling, camping, and pretty much all systems in the game have received a ton of TLC from the dev team, and it really shows how much time you can spend in the game. From random books found in chests to the effects and detriments a certain type of armor or spell can grant. Time is your friend, so take plenty of it. While the time in Eschalon is engrossing and captivating, some players that just want to jump in may find things not as easy to pick up as they go. It's not a Call of Duty, and it's honestly not even Skyrim, where everything is laid out for you. For instance, one hard lesson I learned was that you have to camp in order to repair. I repeatedly broke swords, daggers, and axes, and just threw them away. In my frivolous waste, I started having to punch cockroaches in the face in order to kill them. Not the most effective manner. So, what you have to do instead is actually read the user's manual. Yes, this game comes with a user manual, not something you see a lot in today's games, but that's cool. That's what Eschalon aims to do and what it succeeds at so greatly. It lets me think, man, I'm going back to 1990 or late 80s and really figuring out what's going on. For those that played pen and paper games or tabletop games, for those that played the early on, even the earlier Morrowind experiences where there was no map marker. You were told to go to an area, you checked your map, and you headed west. That's what this game and this game series create, is a fantastic atmosphere and really that experience, that core RPG experience that in all honesty may turn some off, but also may interest those that are looking for it. What this title really accomplished during the playthrough was land the marketing message for the game thus far. It makes you yearn for something that you could put a ton of time and care into a character while being challenged and rewarded. Eschalon Book 3 comes out at a time that's extremely conducive of indie success, and it won't be hard to imagine this finale being one that becomes the most successful for the series, and perhaps gets gamers to take a look in their old Wayback Machine for some context to newer and upcoming titles. During this drought, it's good to have a title like this. We can take a peek at Eschalon Book 1, 2, and 3 and throw back a little bit of earlier RPGs, and we can get a feel for what might be coming out, and this is a great title to get us through. Books 1 and 2 in the series are currently available on Basilisk's website and GOG, goodoldgames.com, and they are completely DRM free and at an extremely reasonable price. You can pick up Books 1 and 2 currently on GOG for about $15. Not bad at all, especially for the amount of time that you will invest in these games. Book 3 comes out on February 14th. Nice little Valentine's Day gift to yourself, and it joins its predecessors in being a Mac, Linux, and PC title with absolutely zero DRM. Now, Basilisk did give us a preview copy to mess around with, and you can see in those titles that it is a pre-alpha build. Now, I would imagine by now they're well into beta and testing and trying things out. What we were able to discern from our time with the game, although semi-limited, it's not a finished copy just yet, but there were a few tweaks and things like that. If we find enough interest, we may put on my full commentary throughout the game, but I have to warn you, watching somebody play an RPG can be quite boring. Here's what I'll tell you. Combat is fun, yet challenging. It's a turn-based game. What can you really expect besides click, slash, click, hit, click, miss? More often than not, I seem to miss. While that was a bit frustrating at times, in all honesty, it's something that comes with the territory, and if you know what the game is aiming for, it's very easy to get over. What I really found in this game was that I wasn't impressed at the outset, but I think I expected a bit too much. Now, this isn't a review of the full title, and we will see some improvements, no doubt, before the full thing comes out. And I'm going to tell you, I will now pick up the game. After reflecting on my time in the game, it was very easy to see what the game was attempting to do, and what the developers were aiming to do. The type of game, the story, the lore, everything down to the user's manual really got me. And it's something that I will definitely return to and put some time into. Is it going to take precedence over other things? Definitely not. If I have another title, let's say The Witcher 3 comes out soon, I can tell you 100% that game will take precedence. For obvious reasons, I think. But that's not to say that something like this can't sit on my computer, on my desktop, and when I have a little bit of spare time, take Hipfarina for a nice quick quest, read a couple books while I'm at it, play some music in the background, and I tell you what, it is a pretty fun game. One thing I noticed while playing through is it was a little tough to discern how to do things. As I said, read the user's manual. That will come in handy. But another thing that I noticed was that you can easily get lost. Sometimes in the dark, the area where you are traveling to is a little tough to discern from just a dark screen. Torches run out, which is a cool little gameplay mechanism of the nighttime, and if it's raining, for instance, it started to rain, and my torch went out. neat little touches like that do work well, but there were some things, as I may have said earlier, the repairing, for instance, only works when camping, and the only reason I know that is because I had to read the user's manual. And again, that adds to the experience, but can be a little frustrating if nothing is in the game itself. When it's all said and done, I think what we see is a game that's going to do well for the developer. A third game in a trilogy is very, very cool. Some story elements seemed a little bit out of place, including aliens, but hey, I'm not a fan of the series, have not played before. I can't say I'm not a fan. I can only say that I have not had the opportunity to become a fan yet. Now with Book 3, they may have converted me. I may go back and may try them out. In all honesty, am I going to go back and play 3 whole Eschalon games before something like Infamous Second Son comes out on PlayStation 4 here soon? Probably not. I do wish Basilisk Games the best. They are a great developer from Indianapolis here in the US, and they've got 3 games under their belt now. That'll wrap up this edition of Why Not, where we take a game we want to try out and give it the old college try. Today's game was Eschalon Book 3 from Basilisk Games, which we had a good time with and releases for PC, Mac, and Linux on February 14th. You can get your copy on Basilisk's website as well as GOG.com. The write-up for this episode is available right here in the description, along with links to other stuff we think you might like. Why Not is an ongoing series where we take your suggestions to try games out, play the games we enjoy, and generally just show off what a game is all about in a quick hit style. If you want to see a game on the show, feel free to leave a comment right here, and subscribe to stay up on all the action on Hipfire Games. Thanks for stopping by, and until next time when we ask the question, why not?